Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education on Monday, February 10th. And I understand we have some friends with us this evening to lead us in the pledge. Is that correct?
Right, Denny would like to introduce three of our fifth graders that are on our student government. Our recorder, Ardella Brown, our vice president, Mason Mahar, and our president, Jake Marcus. Not by plan, but because we have these guys here, we'll give two of these guys a shout out. They were on our winning math field day team for fifth grade. Mason will represent us as an alternate for the regional, and Jake will be participating in the regional somewhere mid-March at Shepherd. So it's nice to have the regional and the state at Shepherd this year, so we don't have to do so much travel. And we wish these guys luck, and we will let them go ahead.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, come and get in front of the board and take their picture. Okay, come on. Let's go to your book. Not for superintendent, the board.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
All right. And we have two presentations this evening.
Yes, ma'am, we certainly do. First and foremost, we have one from Ms. Jennifer Rowan, who is our Director of Instructional Technology, and is going to do a presentation on teacher laptops. Very exciting.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'd like to just run through a little bit about what we've been doing in the background to try to get more updated and suitable technology into the hands of our teachers. So this presentation will be directly related to teacher laptops. This year, I put together a committee, and the committee members are here. Let me make this full screen. Catherine Anthony, Tracy Brinson, Michelle Cantley, Judy Kane or Candy Kane, Jason Johnson, Michelle Miller, Barbara Millerson, Brian Mulligan, Summer Russell, and Jennifer Vogel. The committee represents classroom teachers, librarians, technicians, and coaches. Every committee member was either nominated by a district level director or a principal for selection. So the committee has developed this together. One of our first things that we looked at was what was our mission and vision statement. So those were the things that we put forth because that was going to lead the rest of our conversations. Our mission statement is what we want to do right now, which includes Jefferson County Schools Technology Department facilitates authentic learning experiences by providing educational technology training, resources, and support to students, educators, and the school community. The vision statement, what we want to happen later on, is that Jefferson County Schools Technology Department will promote digital equity to amplify instructional practices to prepare students for advancement in a global society. We created this mission and vision statement by defining what that means to us and looking at our district goals. Then we broke out in groups. We took a look at some of the questions from the mission and vision statement. And then we crafted 3 sentences, took feedback from the committee, the technology department, and the instructional coaches, brought it together, revised it, and worked with Mr. Dilley to kind of enhance it to make sure that it's going to align and correspond with the curricular needs. So part of that is getting the right tools in the hands of the teachers. So we had a need for new laptops. Some of those included that teachers were using outdated technologies. Some of the, and not when I say some, most of the laptops that they were using were 10 years old. So I know we had to update when I came here. I realized that was a need. Some computers, because they are so old, they cannot be updated for Windows operating systems, which we need to do our work. The computers were slow, which was causing a lot of just problems with teachers and workflow. Also, administrative and community expectations. We understand that administratively, the principals want teachers to use technology. I did a survey about that earlier this year, and one of the things they said is they expect it to be used. And then we also know that the community values teachers using updated things because they want their kids to have the most updated things. So those are some expectations that we talked about. And we also wanted to fulfill that vision and mission statement that I talked about. Some of the questions that we went through, do teachers prefer a touchscreen or do they not? What screen size works for everyone? Do teachers want a number pad? Is that going to help them with their grading? What type of keyboard and how do we need to factor in price to keep it below a $600 mark? These were some of the needs that we had, that we wanted it to be i5, 8th generation. We did take a look at all these HP models, and there really wasn't a reason for the HP. We talked to our vendor, which is CDW, which is through our state contractor, and he gave us a large number of things to choose from. So they happen to be all HPs within the price range. All have 256 gig Ethernet port, and all have webcams. So our procedure in choosing laptops, and we defined the specifications, and then we looked at the optional specifications. What screen size, 14-inch or 15.6, keypad or no keypad, touch or non-touch. We reviewed 31 laptops provided by CDW, which is on our state contract, and then narrowed it down to 6 based on those specifications. Then the committee, so my department did that part. Then the committee looked at the 5 or 6 options. One was thrown out just due to cost. The committee attended discussion with a CDW representative and Jerome, who was from HP itself, and that we were provided quotes and then asked for a form for evaluation. The committee has elected to recommend the silver HP with AMD, which looks very similar to what Ms. White has right there, for $599.99. Here are the options that we had. So anything with touch we found was a little bit too expensive. It was going to put us over the mark, and we found that teachers really didn't need it. It wasn't something that they really felt they needed to do their job effectively. That was something that we asked the committee about. So we didn't choose the highest, but we didn't choose the lowest either. We took a look at all of these and figured that the best option was that AMD HP. So this kind of leads us to our funding determination. Everything within, everything I've shown you is going to be funded within our current operating budget in technology department. It's not something that we're going outside to do. Teacher laptops will be purchased through a 3-year cycle. All current laptops will be collected for repurposing and or disposal. Teachers who are given laptops will be given them based on need. So we have some schools who are in need more so than others depending on when they procured their last devices. So at this point we're coming together to do a very firm inventory of what this looks like across the county and then choosing based on those needs. The inventory is scheduled to be complete at the end of the fiscal year. However, we do have an idea of who needs to be served first. And then, of course, purchases will be supplemented by the technology budget. Some of the funds came from curriculum instruction, and we kind of braided those together because it was an adoption year for our teachers and their laptops. So we worked together to make this happen. These are some of the results from the form from the committee. And you can tell we did go with the first choice of the committee. And touchscreen capabilities weren't super important to the committee, which is what led us to those decisions. Does anyone have any questions based upon my presentation? Yes?
I do. So
What were the questions into how they're going to utilize the laptops? Like, what are they used for? Are they used for instruction? Are they just used for classroom management? How are they going to be used?
Well, one thing that we're going to do is talk a little bit about professional development, and of course we would want them to be using them for instruction. So one of the things that the curriculum department has purchased is Nearpod, for instance, which allows for presentations and for interactive presentations with the students. So our goal is always to help the student, and this tool may help them get there.
So how at Driftwood, I know they have the Apple. I'm not sure if some of the other classrooms or schools have that. So, how is that gonna merge with the smart boards and the Apple technology that already exists? And I know some of them use the Apple to be able to access with the smart board because that's what the kids are used to, and especially with the iPhones. I mean, we seem to switch pretty easily between the HP and the Apple, but how is that gonna work for the school and the safety and the infrastructure that's already there?
Yeah, so everything should be compatible with this. I mean, everything that we're going to do with the laptop's going to be able to be compatible with the smart board. But what's really important for a technology department when we're looking at 17 schools is standardization of devices, which is going to help with a lot of different things, just the maintenance and professional development. So looking at packages for teachers, for administrators, and for students, later on down the road, what does that look like? And for us, we knew we needed to standardize this equipment, and this is going to help us take a step towards that.
So will we have a policy to back that up for, say, right now, I think the issue then becomes, a PTO or an SEA or whatnot decides to do a great thing by purchasing a cow for with lots of laptops on it for all the students, which is a great idea and it's definitely needed, but they get it all Apple and then it doesn't fit our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a policy then that comes along with all of this to make sure that principals and those groups understand that if you're going to do that, it has to come through the technology department first to know what they can and cannot purchase.
Yeah, so actually we're starting to come up with some of those procedures. We also have an acceptable use policy that's already in place, and we've talked to the principals about trying to vet that through technology department and CNI and us working together. Mostly because we may already have those funds. We may not need those from the PTO. So if we ask and we talk together and we do some investigation, then maybe we can help support and be sure that we have a firm foundation for support. We don't want to put anything out there that we can't rely on and help the teachers either with professional development or with repairs that need to be done. So that is very important, and part of that is making sure we all communicate and get on the same page.
To dovetail with that, so how will getting the technology and the expectation of how they're going to be used in the classroom, that support and that training coming at the same time so that the computers don't sit there, they're nice, they're brand new, but then they're not being utilized for 3 or 4 years and then they're not the speed and everything that we maybe need for the applications when teachers kind of get around to using them. I just want to make sure that plan's aligned with, getting the technology, because obviously I've been in classrooms and they're sitting over in the corner getting dusty. So want to make sure that they're being utilized, with all the capabilities that you're going to give them.
Yes, so absolutely. I am working with our professional development new coordinator as well, but we have a technology tasting that's going to go out to our elementary school teachers on March 4th. So I've been working with the curriculum department on helping that come to fruition, and the coaches have been so fundamental in how do we help people understand what this technology can do. They can go in as a peer and say, hey, I see what you're doing. Have you tried this? Have you looked at the Microsoft products that we have online? So those are the type of conversations that are starting to happen with new coaches in place. And again, I know that's very new to the structure here, but I've already seen these wonderful conversations come to fruition because of it.
I know you said it would be a 3-year cycle. Do you have an idea of about how many laptops total it's going to take for the project?
Yes, so it's probably going to be around 800 total laptops.
And at one point in time, we tossed around the idea of leasing laptops for students. Would it be advisable to look at that for this project so that everyone could get one right away, and that in 5 years we're not sitting with 800 bricks again and have to start from scratch? Or
So that's a great question. Leasing is not something that we're not going to throw off the table for in any case, especially when it comes to larger orders. If you're talking about students, and that may be more applicable to that group because you're going to have more breakages. It's just because they're kids. But for these particular devices, normally the best practice would be just to buy it outright. It's not a question of funding. Could we put $450,000 into this project this year? Yes, but what I'm trying to do is grow systemically and look at this year we have an adoption, and then the next year we have an adoption, and the next year we have an adoption, and then 2 years later, after these age out, so we're not looking at devices that are 10 years old again, that we start that adoption again, so that it's a cycle as opposed to we have a lump sum of money and we're going to purchase everything right away. So it's kind of like building that foundation so that we can continuously grow and move, as opposed to in 5 more years, okay, now we have to do a $500,000 pay again. So it's more fiscally responsible in that way, is what I'm trying to say.
And then I would also assume that, let's say, I don't know how you're going to do it, whether you pick by school first or by grade level first or by subject first, but let's say you pick, 3rd grade math teachers are the first group to get them. If a 3rd grade math teacher has a better one than the 4th grade reading teacher, I'm assuming that that whole swap out would happen too, to get them the best of what we have at the moment.
So at the time, and again, I follow what CNI needs and what we can do together, but as of right now, it's going to be full schools as opposed to just a grade level to mitigate the challenge that you're describing. Yeah.
But even then, if we give the new stuff to Wright Denny and Paige Jackson has 10-year-old stuff and Wright Denny is 7-year-old, can we make sure that that 7-year-old gets put into their hands and the 10-year-old is what's disposed of?
Yes, so that's definitely an idea of collecting the laptops. And one thing I will say is we're at the end of fiscal year 20. So at the beginning of fiscal year 21, we're making that other purchase. So hopefully this will be a big jump start. I'm hoping now these laptops, because they're built to order, sort of like an MTO at Sheets, it takes a lot longer to get them than, they're just at Best Buy and they can get them in the back. So we're looking at a 2 to 3 month turnaround. I'm hoping that they'll have them by the beginning of the year. I'm trying to talk to the rep, say, hey, put our order in, but I have to wait for those fiscal funds. Yeah. So if you think about it, most people are going to hopefully have it by August, September, because I'll put that order in as soon as I can.
So it's really 3 fiscal years, but 2 calendar years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the people who are on that last year have updated technology, or at least we can get whatever updated technology we have and turn it for them.
Any other questions or comments?
I appreciate the advancement in technology. I'm sure that a lot of the staff appreciates it. I also appreciate the fact we do have a new curriculum person, we do have a new staff development person, we do have a new technology person, and it's nice to see all of that hopefully working really well together. It sure seems that way. So that is really encouraging, because I myself even feel overwhelmed at times, but I know that, when it comes to my child, like, this is their world.
Yeah.
If it's not my world, I'm kind of so well out here, but this is their world. And the faster we can get them moving, even with, what we're gonna hear from Mr. Dilly with the Jumpstart program, I know that many of the classes, they're online. So I would love for even my own middle school student, by the time they get to high school, anything they could take online, let them do it. I want them ahead, I want as much as they can move forward, so that, and they can't do that without the resources. I can provide that resource, but that's not fair for the student that can't have somebody providing that resource. So, as soon as we can move on that, to me, the better, to get them in the hands of not only our teachers, but our students as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Dilly, Blue Ridge Community College Jumpstart Program.
Just to add to Mrs. Rowan's presentation there, she and I have had a number of conversations about approaching digital literacy over the next 5 years and how we're going to support that and enhancing the outcomes for our students, as well as looking at perhaps the Future Ready Partnership, which is a kind of a framework in which to look at how you implement technology in a successful way so it isn't collecting dust. And that's one of my frustrations as well. So I think we're going to be working well together. At this point, we seem to be very much on the same page, and I'm excited about what we're going to do together at this point. So, but now I want to go ahead and segue quickly to what I'm excited about is the Jumpstart program. Thought I would start quickly with some gratitude to Kathy Farrow, who's been really kind of the spearhead on this effort, and I wanted to thank her as well as Hans, as well as the Blue Ridge team, and there's a lot of other folks. Joyce has been instrumental in this because there's been a lot of logistics as far as transportation and a variety of other things, school nutrition, and so a lot of these partners have been very helpful in trying to make sure that some of these barriers are out of the way for our kids, because one of the things that we knew we wanted to make sure is that as many kids as possible could have access to this opportunity. So I thought I would start with quickly this evening, make sure hopefully everything works, is a video that Mr. Fogel put together with Blue Ridge explaining the program.
High school seniors have a lot to think about, from the classroom, to the field, to their passions, and of course, preparing for graduation. So how would you like to get ahead and earn college credit while you're still in high school? Jefferson County Schools and Blue Ridge Community and Technical College are excited to announce Jumpstart, a new dual enrollment opportunity beginning in the fall of 2020. Seniors enrolled at Washington and Jefferson high schools will have the opportunity to earn high school and college credit by enrolling in the General Studies Jumpstart program. They can take courses such as English, math, biology, and more. You'll be able to earn college credits to be used towards programs at Blue Ridge Community and Technical College. Plus, all of the classes in the General Studies Jumpstart program are on the West Virginia Core Transfer Agreement. Students will travel from Jefferson and Washington High School to the Blue Ridge CTC main campus from 11:20 to 1:45 each day. And best of all, high school students' tuition is only $25 per credit hour. That saves the money for financial aid in the future. The deadline to apply for this program is April 29th of 2020. Are you ready to register? You can get started today by visiting your school counselor's office for more information, or you can contact the Blue Ridge CTC High School Enrollment Specialist through email, by calling 304-260-4380, or just going online to blueridgectc.edu. The Jumpstart program from Blue Ridge Community and Technical College and Jefferson County Schools.
So that just highlights some of the basics of the program. And like I said, we're excited about this opportunity. We elected to choose the general studies kind of format just because we felt that it would be for a pilot program this year, would be the most accessible for the most students that would be most likely going on to college. But the hope is that down the road we can look at expansion into technical programs. And part of what we really worked hard on was making sure that this opportunity was on the college campus so that those students would get that experience, because that is some of that challenge that kids face in their first year going on to college is that challenge of not being familiar with the supports that you have in school, in your high school. So we're excited about this. Any questions you may have?
Thank you. Great opportunity for our kids.
Yes, well, there's a lot of folks working hard together. I'm just happy to be the one up here presenting this evening for everybody's hard work, and I'm hoping this is just the beginning of many opportunities, because I agree with some of the sentiments earlier. We need to look at some of our expansion of our virtual academy programs and some of the other things that we're doing, and I'm hoping this will just be one of the many things that our parents can have choice on in the future here in Jefferson County.
Can I ask a question? Mr.
Certainly.
So help me know, I'm thinking about, I have a middle school student who's gonna be going into high school. So, normally I would have them take AP World History in 9th grade.
Mhm.
And then I would have them take AP Biology in 10th grade. And then I would have them take chemistry at the college level possibly, or pre-chemistry, so however I need to do that. So, if this is set up to take general biology 1 and general biology 2 at the college level, is it possible that you could take a different, or we're locked into these 4 courses? Because that would mean that student, that's perfect to go to Blue Ridge to get 4 o'clock. I mean, that works out absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I would definitely want that, because I've already told my child, you will finish an associate's before you finish your senior year.
Yeah,
Just be prepared.
yeah, and you're absolutely
You're
correct.
gonna save your mother some money.
Yeah, it's a great question,
How do
and
we
it's a
do that?
question we've asked the team as we developed this. And part of what we just was trying to, as a pilot, to get one we thought would canvas the most students, but we were told that students could elect to take some other opportunities. We just have to do that sort of on a scenario by scenario basis, especially this first year, because we may have some students that's already taken some of these courses that may elect to participate, and so we'll have to work with them individually with some options, but this doesn't preclude them from other Blue Ridge courses or Shepherd courses or WVU courses that have Potomac State courses that we already offer. So those things can be added to this, but again, not all of those places offer $25 a credit hour and transportation and the opportunity for the lunch to travel with them as well. So that's one of the benefits of this program. But again, we have a feeling that it's going to continue to grow, and we're hoping that this is just the beginning.
So we are willing to at least look at being able
Yes.
to change some of these,
Yeah,
as long
we-
as they fit within that guidelines.
Well, because we know we have some juniors that have already taken a couple of these courses that may wish to participate in this, and so we haven't, obviously, until we bump into those scenarios, but we've all agreed as a team to try to work that out with Blue Ridge, and so I think we're going to be able to find something for them.
Okay.
Thank you for involving the transportation in this.
Well, I have to thank Kathy and Joyce. Those ladies were really great about helping us work that out and making this opportunity available to the kids.
We want this to be available for everyone.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First a statement. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
The first question I have is, are we still going to be offering the English 101 and 102 at the high schools for those
Yes,
students?
this does not affect any existing programs. This is just an addition to, and that may be one of those things we have to make some adjustments down the road. But this is something that we didn't want to pass up this opportunity.
Okay. And then, the way this is outlined is for a senior, correct?
Yes.
And
this-
so it would be 26 credits. Is that the equivalent of an associate's degree?
Not at this time, no, but we're hoping to get to where we can get them to that point. That's my goal anyway. It's
Okay.
basically be 1 year off of their associate degree program.
So, I'm afraid to ask the question because I
That's
think I
okay.
know the answer. If we do expand this next year, if this works out beautifully and we expand it the following year, is it something that juniors could participate in this program this coming fall? Or is it something that we're limiting to seniors and then have one more additional year before a class could get
I think a
their
lot of it's
associates?
gonna depend on participation. We've kind of limited it to 48 students total from both high schools at this point, just because of the availability of the amount of staff Blue Ridge is willing to commit to this program. So if we can prove that we have enough students, I'm sure Blue Ridge will be happy to open up additional classes and courses and availability. So I think those are logistics that, it's hard to say exactly how they'll work out, but I'm anticipating, they're gonna be very, very helpful in trying to make it work, because they're very excited about finally us working with this, to bring this to our kids here in Jefferson County.
And then one other thing was they do need to have certain test scores to participate in this,
Correct.
is that correct?
Yes, and you'll see that on your chart here in the back. It has all the guidance. And one of the things that we thought we could do in the future, we just felt like for this pilot year, we'd go ahead and leave the hard standard. But as we move forward, we know that what we'd like to try to do or consider doing is making, if they don't make these standards, being able to take advantage of Blue Ridge's summer program that allows them to make up and do that remediation work in the summertime so that they can enter in the fall. So that's something that we're gonna not do this first year, but we'll probably be moving into the following and subsequent years. But they've also talked about using the AccuPlacer to also help if a kid feels like they should have made the mark and didn't make it on the ACT or SAT, that this would allow them to still have access. So we do have some limited this first year, but the second year we're hoping to open it up. And that was really just a recommendation to the high schools at this point, just to try to make it manageable for them this first year, this first go around.
And I guess one thing that would help, or will help, is the fact that the state assessment test is the SAT. So all
Correct.
juniors will be taking it, so that'll give them the opportunity to complete
Yes.
that. Okay. Well, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Just hope we can encourage parents to help motivate their children to participate in the program. Because if we do run into a situation where we have 50 kids, they're not gonna turn those 2 kids away. I can tell you that, and we've already talked about that. So if a situation occurs that we have a whole lot more interest in this than we anticipated, they're willing to try to work with us to try to help accommodate that. But
Well, let me just say, I mean, any parent I ever talk to about, did you know your kid can take classes at Blue Ridge? Do you know we have this? I usually get very little knowledge about that, but very much excitement about that. So, you know, I think as we get more and more to be able to help them to understand, I feel like sometimes it's just as a parent overwhelming, especially the first time. You know, if you've got 3 or 4 kids, you know, you kind of get seasoned at it and you know what to expect. But if you have, you know, 1 or 2 and you're trying to figure it all out and you're working, you know,
Yeah.
over the mountain and you're exhausted and you're just like, oh yeah, you've got scheduling, okay. And now that, of course, we've moved that up, which will be helpful for the scheduling aspect. But at the same time, we're doing scheduling right now. So
yes,
for parents who have no clue, and now we've missed that opportunity to be able to, at an open house or at a parent night, to be able to say, hey.
Well, we haven't missed that opportunity. We kind of worked that out as well. They did present to juniors last week at both high schools, and they are opening up, I forget the exact dates, but I think they're towards the end of February. I know Hans is going to be putting that information out, so there will be a parent evening available at Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge is putting that information together at their campus for parents that may be interested in this program. So, and one thing I think it's important to caveat for all parents, if your student is planning on attending an out-of-state school, we always want to remind them that they need to check with that school for the transferability of these credits, because that's just a challenge. Even if you attended WVU, you may not get all those transferable credits. So we just always encourage parents to be aware, depending on where their destination is. But if they plan to go to an in-state school, there will not be any problems, because that's already been taken care of by our Higher Ed Policy Commission. So.
But from personal experience with my daughter, when she graduated, you know, her credits didn't transfer 1-to-1 because she went to an out-of-state school.
Right.
But they did all count as electives. And so
Correct.
she was excited because when it came to register for classes as a freshman, she was in the first group because of the fact that she already had so many credits, even if they were elective credits. So, and I appreciate all of the programs that we do offer our students, and I really hope that this gets the word out and lets it, as many students participate as possible. I mean, I know my son Austin's a senior this year, and he's gonna graduate with 26 college credits. So, as a parent, I greatly appreciate that, so, just, I thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Superintendent, any comments this evening?
No, my only comment would be a huge thank you to the leadership team, and I think you've just seen some of the tip of the iceberg of the amount of time and effort that they've put in to collaborate with one another, speak to the principals and to the teachers and to students themselves, find out what they want and need, and then do the tremendous amount. You see this part and the literally hundreds of hours that they have to spend working out. How do the kids get lunch when they go over to Blue Ridge? What's our transition schedule? How do they not lose time in the credits? Who's responsible for, this piece of registration that has to go in these 5 different places in the software? They've done an immense job at that, and I could not be more pleased for Jefferson County that I'm willing to hire people smarter than me to work for you.
We see the finish line. We see them crossing the finish line here at the podium. We don't see the whole race or the practice that's put in before the race. So I think we do appreciate it. So thank you. All right. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes held January 27th, 2020?
So moved. Second.
Pick one, Janet.
All right. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Citizens' comments. Just as a reminder, we are limited to 3 minutes, so Ms. Ogden, if you wouldn't mind timing. First up is David Winters.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Just a quick discussion about safe learning environment for kids. I have 2 kids that go in Jefferson County. This situation is still unfolding with one of my children, so I'll try to keep it in check. So kids need to be able to go to school without fear of bullying, yelling, threats, beratement. Emotional abuse, harassment, stress is difficult for kids, especially at a young age. When they hear things like, do you feel foolish? I'm glad. You get zeros. You'll be back here repeating this grade. You're the worst group of students to come through here. All these things were said to my child and others in a classroom setting and an assembly setting. Even smaller comments could constitute as harassment. There needs to be some sort of accountability and guidelines in place. Our kids need to feel comfortable speaking to a trusted adult in school without fear of embarrassment, retribution, and feeling like they won't get anybody in trouble if they tell on someone because of bad behavior. Staff need to have appropriate training to be able to deal with complaints in a thorough and intentional manner, so their first reaction is not to defend or downplay what happens to the student, calling it their perception. My suggestion is to appoint a fact-finding team with maybe one admin, a parent, and a board member to ensure that the matter is handled correctly. Parents need to have communication and ensure that the situation is alleviated without getting the brush off or feel like it's been hid under the carpet. so that we can feel like it's a safe and resolved situation. Lastly, kids should never be made to feel like a victim, like it's their fault, or like things should continue happening. For example, someone should never yell at them for test scores not being good enough. We need to give them, the kids, resources that empower them to stand up to bullies and encourage them that if they see or hear something hurtful, to say something. Even if it's an adult, teacher, administrator, principal, whoever it is. I don't ever want my child to go to school in fear. I don't ever want them to be afraid of somebody that has such a positive influence in their life. I want them to have trust in that person. So,
And
I
Mr.
want to
Winters,
help.
that's your, if you would wrap up, I
Sure.
appreciate it.
So, yeah, like I said, it's an emotional situation. It's still ongoing, so I want to help. I don't want to lash out. I want to help. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Timothy Smith?
Good evening. My name's Tim Smith. I'm been the pole vaulting coach at Washington High School since its interception. And my pole vaulting pit is now in disarray. It's actually unsafe, guys. The pit that was purchased for the school originally was a 10-year-old pit. And we know this year is starting a 12th year at Washington. I made note to the principal several years ago that the pit was badly needed exchanged out. She noted that all equipment and stuff with the track was wore out, everything that needed kind of replaced because nothing had been replaced up to that point. I'm getting ready to start the next year where I have two guys. One's a senior, one's a junior. The senior, both these guys finished in the state championship meet last year. And the senior had a shoulder operation from a wrestling injury. And he's already has commitments from Arizona State to become there to be a pole vaulter. So I'm concerned about the pit being so soft it's going to injure him. My second child is a junior who, Frankie Moray, who was the quarterback out there this year. Frankie has been jumping throughout the year and is now jumping over 15 foot. That's already high enough to win the state championship this year. And of course, Frankie's father is also an attorney, and he knows the current condition of that pole vaulting pit at Washington High School. So I'm just asking for myself personally, myself and my wife. I looked it up, and today we have spent, my wife and I, $82,000 to the Jefferson County school system since our youngest daughter graduated. That's a lot of money to throw into a school system. I just ask that, could you possibly throw some back my way so I can help the kids at Washington High School get a new pit so we can jump safely this year? Okay. If you need some type of idea about what they cost, the cheapest pit out there today is about $15,000. That is bargain, basic, cheap, smallest pit, but it does fit the high school regulations. I would encourage you to go a step further, buy one a little bit bigger, more for college-driven kids, which are jumping higher. They have more foam so that they're not, they're more supported when they fall. So you got to keep in mind, since I've been at Washington High School, I've had 6 kids to get scholarships as pole vaulters. As pole vaulters, okay? And my first boy, 4 years into Washington, was the best kid in the nation. Okay, so that just shows you the limit that I bring to that school and what I expect from the kids when they do jump. I mean, we're not talking, low heights and stuff like that. I mean, these kids are taking the most of it and getting the best of their ability. So I see Connor Wogan as a possibility. Like I say, he has already been offered a scholarship through Arizona State. And of course, Frankie's just a junior, and so, the sky's the limit. You just maybe you guys saw where a kid from Florida, 20 years old, just broke the world record, jumping over 20 foot. So that's what the potential is today, guys. So I just ask for you, if you could appropriate the money, that we can get this taken care of at Washington High School immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon Smiles Tharp.
Good evening. My name is Shannon, and I'm here tonight to urge this board to continue a community discussion around the need for new school construction throughout the county, but specifically in Shepherdstown. As a parent of a special needs child in which this county and state could not support educationally, in addition, a parent of a kindergartner in this county, it's been a goal of mine to become more involved in improving the processes and policies of Jefferson County schools. Therefore, I've been attending my child's LSIC meetings. And as a parent and community member, I was aware that Jefferson County purchased land with the intent to build a new elementary and middle school in Shepherdstown. But prior to my involvement in the LSIC, I was not aware that nothing had been planned for development up until this point. I'm also familiar with the fact that at the last Board of Ed meeting, the board decided not to place a school bond referendum for approval by voters on the May 12th ballot due to time constraints, which I get. I understand the importance of due diligence and community input. However, it's frustrating to hear that this project has not been prioritized. I read an article last week that the President's administration top education advisor toured Driswood Elementary School to see firsthand the innovative learning programs at the school. I am not taking anything away from Driswood and from what Ms. Osborne and her team have accomplished over there. I know firsthand what an amazing group of people they are. But I'm sure we can all agree that it's much easier to accomplish such tasks in a space that is safe, spacious, accommodating, and innovative. Just the other week, my kindergartner came home and excitedly reported that his heat was working in his classroom. My son has struggled with his transition to kindergarten, as many students do. And as he is navigating these changes, he shouldn't have to worry about whether the heat's working in his classroom or not. In addition, our community and this board are aware of the ever-changing and challenging needs of our students. As our community continues to face difficult social issues such as drug addiction, poverty, and child abuse, and more, our students are now coming to school for more than just an education. In fact, our students can't benefit from an education if their very basic needs are not being met. And the very basis of meeting a child's basic needs is making them feel safe within their physical environment. I'm aware that the heating issue at SCS has been resolved for now, and I want to thank Ms. McManus for her communication, support, and dedication in helping her students be successful, regardless of the challenges the school is facing itself. But the school will continue to face electrical and physical challenges over time that will impact the students and teachers significantly. So I'm hopeful that this board will continue this discussion and not place this issue on the back burner as has happened in the past. I'm sure the President's top education advisor would have not come to see a school with space heaters. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda, any changes?
There are a couple of red line changes, in the
Number 4. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? And I will be recusing myself from the vote because I'm listed on the consent agenda as an approved driver.
I do have a question about the occupational therapist. What will she be replaced, or I know that we have someone that is like needs to be supervised, so how will that be handled?
We, of course, will advertise for someone, as you know, that's been an extraordinarily difficult position to recruit. We have contracted in the past, and there are companies who are willing to offer us those contracted services, who do have licensed OTs at, quite frankly, far greater cost than the staff that we've been able to obtain. But yes, we actually had that discussion at JLT this morning, and we have identified vendors who are capable of giving it to us, but we very much want to advertise and try to hire someone in-house first, because you're correct, we do have quotas that have to be supervised by a licensed OT, or we can't use them. So then we not only lose the OT services, we lose the quota services as well. So we will have someone licensed. They just may not be our employee, and if so, they will be at a vastly increased cost than in-house.
I also saw in here Principal Ziegler,
Mhm.
her retirement. She's been with the county for how long?
Ooh, well, I couldn't begin to tell you.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. And much as we've done with Ms. Corbett as well, first of all, I do have to say I deeply appreciate they've both just built the foundation for their schools. They've built legacies for themselves at their schools. And while they've earned every minute of it, they both could have, quite frankly, I think at this point, they're both paying us to work based on their retirement. But they've both been committed to working with us, to bringing someone on board in sufficient time for them to cross over and train with them. Part of it is timing in order for us to advertise and to get someone. Many of the most experienced folks, like they're in contracts right now, and they may be in contract until June 30th. So we'll be advertising, but we're gonna have to work collaboratively if we find experienced folks who are committed right now, either in contracting both principals to come back on a training basis and work with us, or working with wherever we get these folks from. My hope is that we get somebody internal who's great, and that we can sub for them and then have them working in that role for the remainder of the year to work through that. I will say, and this is my plug, thank you for this opening, we desperately need additional elementary assistant principal positions. Like teachers, there's far fewer teachers, so there are far fewer folks who are both interested in and have the skill set and are willing to go through the training to become a quality administrator. It is a difficult job with a lot more public scrutiny and, quite frankly, negativity. So with so few, we have got to have a training ground for them. Right now, I do not have a single AP who has more than 2 years of experience on the job as an AP. We've had some great ones. Carrie Mahoney, who's taken over South, Dr. Dawn Tyler, who's taken over C.W. Shipley, Mr. Brandon Caton, who's fabulous, who, as you've now heard, is resolving issues on so many different levels. That was our first cohort of AP, most of our first cohort of APs. We're just going through them as folks retire. We have got to have a bigger pool. So.
Any other questions or concerns about the consent agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right. Unfinished business. Action on approval of realignment policy.
Good evening. I'm bringing back for you this evening the realignment policy that was put out on public comment. We've only made a couple of changes. The first one was to properly identify the policy category from personnel actions to realignment. And then the only public comment that we received was on section 2.11 6. In the last paragraph, the last sentence, it says the board shall take action, and if the reduction in force is approved, there was a D missing there, so we added a D, and that was the only public comment that we received. So if there are any questions or not, request for approval to adopt the policy.
Is there a motion to adopt the realignment policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
New business, request to advertise for and hire a clerk of the works for the T.A. Lowry Major Improvement Project.
Good evening. I'm here to request that you take action this evening and allow us to advertise for a clerk of the works. We're seeking these services for our HVAC project at T.A. Lowry Elementary School. The responsibilities of this individual would be to observe and monitor work performed by contractors at the construction site in accordance with construction contract documents and the SBA, or the School Building Authority, guidelines. They would attend all project meetings as our representative, monitor construction progress, and maintain all records as directed by us. So I would like to get that person on board as Randy continues the project design and we begin to build the construction to bring a contractor on board with us later this spring for the summer project. So with that, I will ask you to please approve that we advertise and hire a clerk of the works.
Is there a motion to advertise and hire a clerk of the works for the T.A. Lowry Major Improvement Project for the HVAC system?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
The way that it was listed for us, it's the same advertisement, correct? One said for TALES, MIP, which was obviously T.A. Lowry, and the other one just had it plain.
It's the
In
same
attachment.
advertisement.
There's only one position they're looking for, right?
One position, that is
Okay.
correct.
It looked like they said exactly the same, except one said for T.A. Lowry and one said for.
Yeah, it's the
nothing.
same.
Okay. And then in the bottom, I'm assuming the requirements, ask for the certifications, and then, you know, obviously the experience, comprehensive knowledge and understanding all phases of non-residential construction, so I'm assuming that means reading blueprints and everything else as well.
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments?
What are the number of days or the duration, like how long or?
It's gonna depend on the project, so we want the project to start when school's out and wrap up by the time school starts. So they will be on the job daily until the project concludes, including post-construction and attending any meetings that we have. I would assume that it would last for the duration of the summer. I would say, if I had to hazard a guess, at least 10 weeks. That's what I'd be thinking.
Do we need to put that, something about that in the advertisement? I know it says for the TALES MIP, that that's how it's posted, so one would assume that, yes, that's when the job ends.
That we have more specific language in the contract about duration of days. I hesitate to make it a specific amount. Certainly in the interview process and in the contract, that will be further spelled out. If you guys deem it necessary, I'm happy to put a ballpark.
And where are you gonna be running this?
We run our advertisements in the Jefferson Spirit and in the Martinsburg Journal. We run them for 2 weeks. Additionally, we do advertise on our website.
And if we run them for 2 weeks, I'm just looking at the calendar, the deadline on this ad says no later than Friday, February 28th.
Yeah,
Is that a
we
realistic?
need to bump that up.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that there's. no-
Right. We'll look this over tomorrow to make sure that, because we've missed the deadline for the Spirit, so obviously that needs adjusted, yes.
real quick, we had looked at, over the next several years, we're gonna be replacing HVAC, in many of the schools, right? So, is this someone that, we could have a perpetual type of contract with them?
With the SBA?
Yeah, well, with whoever we hire, so that they have knowledge of what we're doing or who we're working with in terms of all the different, improvements that we need to have done, just to.
The way the bidding process works, that is not feasible to do that, especially when you talk school building authority, because everything has to be bid. So it's a
So each
process
one
that
is
you follow,
individual.
that once you have SBA funding, there's a specific process that we have to follow. So should we go out for another project, that's a major improvement project, we would have to hire another architect. Even though we've brought OWPR on, it would require us to go through the exact same process, hiring an architect, hiring a clerk of the works, and making the project, and then hiring a contractor. So that's not possible.
Although certainly their experience, they can put on their application process,
Absolutely.
and that would help them in the rubric. But
That's right.
as Ms. White's very clear, very knowledgeable about that, we can't extend that. It's not one of those, it's a 3-year, 1 year with renewals.
Yeah.
They won't allow it.
Just with the short limitation of the projects, the quality, but if you could say, hey, we're gonna be doing this every year, keep applying,
Right.
I guess, right?
Yes,
So.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
But that red tape and the hoops are well worth jumping through with the SBA funding that we're getting for the project. So,
Absolutely.
For $1 million, yes, give me some hoops. Just lay them out there. I'll take your money. I'll take your hoops.
all right. So there's a motion on the floor. All in favor to advertise for the clerk of the works for the TA Lowry project?
Okay.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Action on approval of Jefferson County School Board member to serve on the Jefferson County Extension Service Committee.
Yes, ma'am, that was previously filled by Ms. Roper, and the board has to officially vote to appoint someone to that committee. They are meeting and they have requested for an appointment from the board, so Ms. Horner needs that so she can provide that information.
So it was Ms. Roper's position.
Everybody's looking at me.
Quick, everybody else take a step back.
What is the position and what does it entail? Just give me a
The
few
way
details.
it works is we're liaisons to different committees and things across the county. Like I'm on the Parks and Rec board.
Okay.
You are on libraries. You do EPIC and the economic development in Rumsey.
Okay.
And so, would you be willing to serve as that person? I don't know.
Who is the contact, or if you have that information? Yes. Okay.
And they meet during the day, don't they? Is that?
They meet at night.
Oh, at night?
I was gonna say, I thought it was in the evenings.
Okay.
Midnight. They'll 5 or 6 times a year, maybe. That's no big deal.
That's fine. Okay. So is there a motion to nominate Wendy to do the County Extension Service Committee?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Voluntold.
Did you hear the
That's the
train?
newbie.
We just gave you yours. We didn't try to give you ours, so, we were kind. All right, executive session this evening.
Yes, ma'am, for both personnel and student discipline.
All right, and there will be action.
Yes, ma'am, we anticipate action.
All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.